want to talk to you today about why it is so important to approach your challenges and solve your problems from a spiritual and an emotional perspective, as well as from a rational, logical, factual, material perspective. And that doing both just gives you this expansive spiritual material perspective that is really crucial. So I was having this conversation in my online community with one of the members, and she was responding to a video that I had shared a few weeks back about the fires in Northern California and the way that I had dealt with it, with the crisis and with the stress and overwhelm that I was feeling, was by asking the question, kind of settling into myself, into my center, and asking, how can I create wholeness in this situation? How can I bring more wholeness to the situation? And then I shared what I did in that specific context to kind of create wholeness, to restore wholeness to the situation. And so she was commenting on this video. She really appreciated it. It was really good. You know, she has been in crisis situations, also ecological, but also obviously personal, like all of us. And the way that she was dealing with it, that she would look at the facts, the way that she would stop the overwhelm and the stress, which often happens when you're thinking at everything at the same time and it's just overwhelming, is to look at the facts, and that would calm her down. And she would look, okay, what are the facts? What am I actually able to do in the situation, and what am I not? And so we kind of had this exchange, and I realized that, you know, it's not this or that. But I'll tell you why adding the emotional and the spiritual perspective is really important. There's a saying, you know, that the mind is a terrible master and a wonderful servant. So really the mind, the rational, the action, the material world should follow the heart, the spirit, the emotions. That's the order of things, that when you do that, you're in balance. Now, also, when you ask, so you're in a crisis situation, okay? Something personal. It doesn't have to be an ecological disaster. And you ask yourself, what are the facts? You get a certain set of answers. If you ask yourself, how can I restore wholeness to this situation? How can I bring my heart to this situation and restore wholeness? You are tapping into the spiritual and emotional perspective of the situation. And so you're going to get very different answers, intuitive hunches, when you ask, how can I restore wholeness to the situation, than when you ask, what are the facts, what can I do about it, and what can't I do about it? Now, it's not this or that. You do need both. You can't just be in the facts, because then you miss out on the larger picture. And if you're just in the spiritual, then you're never actually going to maybe do anything. You'll just have this insight, and you'll never actually look at what's possible within the intuitive insight that just came to you. So it's really about holding both. But you start with, how can I restore wholeness to this situation? And this can be a relationship crisis or challenge that you have with a friend or with a partner or with a child or a parent. It can be a financial challenge that you are facing. It can be a challenge in your home, at work. It can be a challenge that has to do with your health and your well-being, any challenge. If you ask yourself, how can I restore wholeness? What would it take to restore wholeness to this situation? You will receive answers that relate to the interdependent nature of reality and the interdependent nature of the challenge that you are in. Because we often get into tunnel vision when we just think of the facts. Just realistically, so to speak, realistically think of the facts of reality. But if you ask, how can I restore wholeness? Now you've opened your heart. Now you're seeing the situation, you're allowing yourself to see the situation from a holistic, interdependent, interconnected perspective, even if you're not logically aware of it. And the intuitive hunches, inspiring ideas that you get will help you solve it from a larger perspective, taking more aspects and variable within your challenge into account. Then once you have this intuitive hunch, then go to the more logical and rational, to the factual, and ask, okay, I had this idea. How do I execute it? What is possible? How do I make it happen? What are the facts on the ground that allow me to do this? Or do I need to pivot and the intuition was an idea and now I need to think it through logically? So you see how we need both. But just being in the spiritual is just going to give us some insight, some peacefulness, some joy, but it's not going to solve the challenge, not going to solve the problem that you're facing. And if you're just looking at the facts, you're missing out a much larger picture that's more holistic and inclusive. And the fact is that we don't know and we can't think of everything that's related and connected to our challenge. It can be financial challenge, something at work, and you don't know what your boss is going through or what a colleague is going through, and that's why they're pressuring you with a deadline that doesn't work for you, or pressuring you financially, or you don't know what your landlord is going through when they're raising your rent. You're just thinking about your own, okay, what do I do? How do I do? The minute you open up to a more calm, relaxed, centered, holistic perspective, how can I restore wholeness? You might end up calling your landlord, and because you might have a hunch about, oh, they're just going through something really difficult in their life, you might just call and ask them about that, and they might say, oh, thank you for showing an interest in me, and then you say, could we work this situation out, because it's a, for example, it's a big increase in the rent. It's like, could we work this out somehow? Could we find something in between? Or I want to go towards you, can you go towards me? Suddenly you'll approach this in a different way than the factual way, and you'll bring more love and wholeness and care and joy and kindness into the world in your interactions. The same is with your boss at work or a colleague. If you open up to this expansive perspective, holistic perspective of how can I create and restore wholeness to the situation, you might have a very creative idea of how to approach your colleague or boss that's just going to be perfect and solve it, and it will work out for everybody. So try this out. Try first sitting down, settling in, and asking yourself, how can I restore wholeness to this challenge, to the situation that I'm in? If it's something personal, or it's something that's political, or something that's social, or crisis that's ecological, something that's kind of larger. And then when you get a heartfelt sense, an intuition, a gut feeling of what you can do to restore wholeness to the situation, now bring your logical, rational mind in. Look at the facts and see, okay, how can I implement this gift that I got from the universe, or from my inner wisdom, or from the larger wisdom of our interdependent world, and the larger wisdom of the situation of which I'm not aware of all the variables that are part of this challenge. Now use your rational mind to create some results, some action in the material physical world, and see how that works. It should work much smoother. And that's how you restore wholeness, by both paying attention to the spiritual and emotional aspect of how to restore wholeness to a situation, and then using your rational, logical, factual mind to act upon the insight that you got and take action and see how you restore wholeness in very concrete, material, physical ways in the world with your challenge. So try this out, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear how it worked for you, any challenges you had, any insights, successes, Ella and I'll engage with you in the comments below. Blessings.